my name is Jasmine Sky, and I'm here today dressed as Dawn to tell you my top 10 favorite Pokemon. So I wanted to do this video this summer, but I waited because I knew Sun and Moon was coming out, and I wanted to see if any of the Aola Pokemon would change my top 10 list, and spoiler alert, it did, at least a little bit. So I'm glad I waited. Now I have a updated top 10 Pokemon list for you guys. It will probably change again when more games come out and we get more Pokemon, but for now, this is where I am in terms of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. This list is going to include entire evolutionary chains, not just single Pokemon, because I just think that makes more sense. So that's how it's gonna work. And without further ado, let's get into my list. So at number 10 is Ponyta and Rapidash. Ponyta and Rapidash were my favorite as a kid. Like when I first started playing Blue, I believe I had Blue, I just fell in love with Ponyta. I was also in that age where like horses were the coolest thing ever, and I've always loved fire as an element, so having a fiery horse and then having a fiery unicorn, like that was just the coolest thing ever, and I loved Ponyta and I loved Rapidash, and I still to this day, the nostalgia of that, every time I see a Ponyta in Pokemon Go, or if I ever catch one in a game, like I just am so excited. And Rapidash is still one of the most gorgeous Pokemon to me. So Ponyta and Rapidash are definitely holding strong, will probably never fall completely off my top 10 Pokemon list. Number 9 is Esper and Meowstic. I actually fell in love with Esper because of Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, because of the character of Esper, and then through that took a closer look at Esper's evolved Meowstic and was like, whoa, this is actually really cool. I tend to be weary of cat-based Pokemon because there's just so many and I get bored by them, but when I actually looked again at Esper and Meowstic, I was like, oh my gosh, these are beautiful Pokemon and I love their movesets. So yeah, Esper and Meowstic definitely fall in at number 9, and I'm glad that they made Esper such an important character for Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon so that I could fall in love with that chain. Okay, my number 8 is the only Pokemon edition I have from the Aola region, and to be fair, I have not finished Pokemon Sun yet, but I think I've gotten far enough that I have a good sense of what Pokemon are my favorites, and I have some, if I go all the way to top 20 Pokemon, there are some other additions from the Aola region, but in the top 10, this is my only addition, and that is Mantis and Lurantis. I caught Mantis having no idea what they evolved into. I just knew, oh, another early level grass Pokemon, that's cool. It's kind of attacky based. I looked it up online, and I was like, well, that's really interesting, and I then, went along in the game and I used my Mantis and I was like, oh, I'm liking this. And then I had the trial where we see the Totem Lurantis and I was like, oh my god, I need this Pokemon so much. I love it. I love it so much. Like, I don't know, just playing with it and then having the trial, and I was like, this is one of my new favorite Pokemons, one of my new favorite grass Pokemon for sure, like hands down, love it. So I'm so excited to keep playing with my Lurantis and to, just enjoy that new Pokemon so much. Number 7 is Absol. I fell in love with Absol my very first playthrough of Pokemon Sapphire because its story is so tragic, like how everyone thinks it foretells disaster and like, oh no, Absol's coming, there's gonna be a disaster, but in reality is trying to warn people. It's very much the Banshee storyline, but also Absol is just gorgeous and their Mega Evolution is just, oh my gosh, everything I ever wanted for Absol, and I love it so, 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 so much. Number 6 is kind of stereotypical, but that is Eevee and the Eevee evolutions, and how can you just not love them? I mean, Eevee is so cool. What's the new Pokédex entry is like its genetics are so wonky that it evolves into like super different versions of itself or whatever. Like, I think it's hilarious that Eevee, we keep finding new evolutions and, new types, and I can't say I have a favorite evolution. I'll do one or the other depending on one or the other or the other or the other or the other, depending on what I need in a team. I hope one day we get a ghost type because ghost is my favorite typing overall, and I would love a ghost evolution for Eevee. there's also like Steel would be really interesting and Rock would be really interesting. I have a lot of opinions about what Eevee should evolve into next, but I love all the current evolutions too. Coming in at number 5 is another Pokemon I fell in love with my very first playthrough of Sapphire, and that is Ralts and Kirlia and Gardevoir. Gallade is okay, but in general, fighting has never been one of my favorite types at all, so Gardevoir is definitely way more exciting to me than Gallade. I think that whole set is just so majestic, like coming from a tiny little adorable mushroom looking thing to, you know, this like gangly teenager to this graceful, powerful psychic Pokemon. Like I love it so much, and I catch Ralts almost every single time that I play Sapphire, and I don't regret it at all because I love that evolutionary tree. So yes, Ralts is at number 5. Number 4 is a Pokemon I actually fell in love with because of Pokemon Conquest, and if you haven't tried that game out, I think it's super fun. It's a very different tactical type of game, but it's super cool, and I don't know, it makes me happy to play it, and I really wish they would make an expansion for it, but that's a whole different video. So anyway, Litwick, Lampent, and Chandelure I totally fell in love with because of Pokemon Conquest. Litwick is just super surprising in that, like, he's very powerful despite being a first evolve of a trio, I think, and I love the idea. I know Chandelure is very much like a Beauty and the Beast tale for me, and I think that's very cool because, you know, Ghost and Fire, and I know it just really makes sense, and it's gorgeous, and the purplish indigo hue. I absolutely love that trio, and I wish there were more games where I could catch it earlier. Number 3 is another classic, and that is Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. They were my very first starter, my very first playthrough of Blue, and I, like many kids my age, fell in love with Charizard. I mean, it's a giant dragon, and honestly, Dragonite, I think, was a bit of a disappointment for a lot of us because when we imagine dragon, like, I like Dragonite a lot, but coming from Dratini and Dragonair, Dragonite's suddenly this, like, weirdly round, cartoony looking dragon. It's just not what you want out of a dragon. And then there's Charizard, who is like the classic Western dragon, and I love it so much. I love that you can ride on Charizard in the Aeola region. Like, it's just so cool. And also Charizard as a character, Ash's Charizard, is like one of my favorites. I don't know, I love him. He's so grumpy and amazing, and I just love Charizard. So Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, absolute fave. Number 2 is Mischievous and Mismagius. If you think about the typings that I tend towards, which are like the archetype of the beautiful but deadly, and I love ghost types and like all of that, and as a kid and growing up, I've always loved the idea of witches, right? The typical witch is just something that's very exciting to me, so it's kind of no surprise that Mischievous and Mismagius would be one of my favorite Pokemon. There's nothing I can really put my finger on that's like this is the reason, except that they're just the example of what I like in Pokemon, like what my stereotypical favorite Pokemon is. So that's what they are, and that's what I like, and I love that I was able to catch a Mischievous so early in Pokemon Sun, and I have been playing with her, and I'm just like, this is so perfect for me. I'm just falling in love with her all over again, and that's really awesome. And coming in at number 1, another Pokemon that I fell in love with in Sapphire, but I've continued to love forever and always and over again, and that is Swablu and Altaria. The first time I saw Swablu, I was like, oh my gosh, it's an adorable, precious little cloud. Like, it was just so cute. And then it evolved, and I was blown away. Like, Altaria is exactly what I think of when I imagine the sky being condensed into a Pokemon. Just so graceful and beautiful, and my favorite colors of the sky, and the dragon typing is like just awesome because she doesn't look like the typical dragon, and yet she is that beautiful but deadly type of Pokemon. And the Mega Evolution, so awesome. Dragon Fairy, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I want one so badly. I want to Mega Evolve her all the time. So yes, Altaria is just wonderful, and I love her so much. So there you go, those are my top 10 favorite Pokemon as of right now. I'm sure I'll make an update video in like 5 years with a totally different list because of whatever happens in Pokemon, but that's it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this basic video, and I shall see you next time. Bye, peeps!